A family in rural Mississippi started milling their own lumber to save money and ended up building something nobody around them expected. Tyler and Brittany Wallace run Wallace Farm and Sawmill out of Columbus, Mississippi, and the story of what their channel has become is almost nothing like how it started. By the time you reach the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this channel keeps growing, when so many others like it quietly disappear. There is a particular kind of YouTube channel that does not follow any playbook. No controversy, no drama, no manufactured conflict, just a family, a piece of land, and the kind of hard physical work that most people stopped doing 2 generations ago. Wallace Farm and Sawmill is that channel, and the fact that it exists at all is the first thing worth paying attention to. The channel is based in Columbus, Mississippi. Tyler and Brittany Wallace run it together. Their property is not a sprawling commercial operation. It is a working farm with a working sawmill, and the line between the two is not always clear, which is exactly what makes the content work. On any given upload, viewers might see a Wood-Mizer LT40 band mill converting a fresh-cut log into dimensional lumber, or Belgian draft horses being worked in a field, or fishing from a local waterway, or a litter of puppies, or a boat being built from scratch. That range matters, because it means the channel is not built around a single skill that could go stale. It is built around a life, and a life has enough content in it to run for years. The business side of what the Wallaces do is also genuinely useful to their audience. They take custom lumber orders, they fill customer jobs on camera, showing the full process from log to finished board. They have published videos explaining exactly how they make money from the sawmill, what kinds of cuts customers order, how they price jobs, what makes certain wood species more valuable than others. That transparency is rare in the rural content space, and it has built a level of trust with their audience that goes beyond casual viewership. Most channels in this niche show you what the work looks like. Wallace Farm and Sawmill shows you how the work actually functions as a business. That is a different thing entirely. But here's the part that changes everything about what you just heard. The decision to operate 2 completely different sawmills is not an accident. It tells you something about who Tyler and Brittany Wallace are, and what they believe their channel is actually supposed to do. Their primary production machine is the Wood-Mizer LT40, a modern portable band sawmill that is widely used by small-scale lumber producers across the country. It is accurate, efficient, and capable of handling a wide range of log sizes without the limitations of older equipment. Then there is the circle sawmill. Built in the 1940s, it runs on an entirely different mechanical principle, a large spinning circular blade rather than the band-style cutting system of the LT40. Operating this machine is not just technically different, it is physically different. The pace changes, the sound changes, the entire feel of the work changes, and the Wallaces know this. They do not use the vintage circle mill because it is the most practical tool for the job. They use it because it connects what they do to something older and more permanent than YouTube views. In 2026, they put that century-old circle sawmill to work on what they described as their biggest build yet, sawing their own dimensional lumber to frame a major construction project on their property. Using a machine from the 1940s to build something in 2026 is the kind of detail that their audience responds to. It is not nostalgic performance. It is a real operational choice, with real consequences. Blades that need precise maintenance, a machine that requires intimate knowledge to run safely, and lumber that has to meet construction standards regardless of what cut it with. That combination of old and new runs through everything the Wallaces do. Modern band sawmill for customer orders, vintage circle mill for landmark projects, Patreon for community access, merchandise for fans who want to carry the brand, sponsorship management through a professional agency. None of these things contradict each other, they stack. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around them saw coming. For a long time, Wallace Farm and Sawmill looked, from the outside, like Tyler's channel. He was the face at the sawmill. He ran the cuts, he explained the process. Brittany was present, visible, part of the fabric of the content, but the sawmill itself was positioned as his domain. This is not unusual in rural YouTube. The format has established conventions, and one of them is that the person operating the heaviest equipment is also the person the channel is built around. Then Brittany stepped behind the controls of the Wood-Mizer and ran a full day of sawing on camera. The video was called "Wife Takes Over the Sawmill," and what the audience found was not a novelty act, not a spouse trying her hand at something for laughs. What they found was someone who knew what she was doing. Brittany ran the machine with the same confidence that comes from having been around it for years. She made the cuts, she managed the process, She handled the physical demands of a full day's sawing without the performance of struggle that these kinds of spouse takes over videos usually rely on. The comments on that content told a story. Viewers who had been watching for months or years responded differently to Brittany behind the mill than they did to any other episode. The combination of a machine that most people associate exclusively with men, operated calmly and competently by a woman on a Mississippi farm, created a moment that the channel's regular audience had not seen coming. It was reported across multiple observer accounts and third-party commentary channels that Brittany's increased on-camera presence, particularly at the sawmill itself, played a meaningful role in expanding the channel's reach beyond its original audience base. That reach pulled in viewers who were not specifically seeking sawmill content, but who responded to the broader story of what Brittany represented in that space. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. Most people who watch Wallace Farm and Sawmill never think about the spreadsheet behind it, but there is one, and understanding it changes how you see what the Wallaces are actually building. The channel operates multiple revenue streams simultaneously. AdSense from YouTube is the most visible, but it is not the whole picture. The Patreon alone has accumulated over 685 exclusive posts, a library of behind-the-scenes content that paying members access for as little as $2 a month. At any meaningful subscriber count, that adds up quickly. Merchandise runs through a separate storefront. Sponsorship inquiries go through a professional management firm, The Station, which handles brand deals for rural and outdoor content creators. On top of all of that, there is the actual sawmill business. Custom lumber orders still come in. The email address for sawmill inquiries is listed publicly on every platform they operate. This is not a decorative detail. It means the YouTube channel functions as both a content platform and a lead generation tool for a physical business that produces real income, independent of algorithm performance. This is the structural advantage that separates sustainable rural content channels from ones that collapse the moment a video underperforms. If the YouTube algorithm shifts and a month's worth of content does not perform, the sawmill still runs. Customers still call. The Belgian horses still need feed and care. The farm continues operating at the pace it always has, and the camera simply keeps recording it. The Wallaces did not accidentally stumble into this model. They built it. The decision to publish videos explaining exactly how they make money from the sawmill, breaking down the process of fulfilling customer orders, served a dual purpose. It gave existing viewers context they had been asking for, and it positioned the channel as an educational resource for anyone thinking about starting a small sawmill operation themselves. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. One of the clearest signs that a rural content creator has crossed from hobbyist to operator is when they start building infrastructure. Wallace Farm and Sawmill crossed that line with the construction of a new shop, and the way they built it is the detail that most people in the comments did not fully process. They milled the framing lumber themselves, on the wood miser, from logs sourced on or near their own property. This is not a small thing. Framing lumber for a structure of any meaningful size represents thousands of dollars in materials at retail pricing. By milling their own boards, the Wallaces eliminated that cost almost entirely. The only inputs were the time, the fuel to run the mill, and the blade wear, all of which are a fraction of what dimensional lumber from a building supply store would have cost for the same project. That decision, documented on camera, became one of their most resonant pieces of content, because it was not theoretical. It was not a video about how you could theoretically save money by owning a sawmill. It was a video showing them doing exactly that, board by board, with the finished shop as evidence. The new shop has since become the backdrop for continued expansion. Power was connected. A solar kiln was started, a critical piece of infrastructure for anyone selling dried lumber at a premium, since green wood commands a lower price than properly kiln-dried material. An excavator was brought in for pool prep work on the property, signaling that the Wallaces are building the kind of long-term domestic infrastructure that surrounds a family settling into a place permanently, not just passing through. Each of these projects feeds back into the channel. Every excavation is an episode. Every kiln build is a series. Every shop upgrade is 3 videos minimum. The content does not need to be manufactured. It exists because the life itself keeps expanding. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. In one of their more technically compelling pieces of content, the Wallaces ran their 2 sawmills head-to-head. Same logs, side by side. The 1940s circle mill against the modern wood miser LT40. The goal was to compare the results, not just speed, but quality of cut, surface finish, and practical output. For an audience that includes both hobbyist sawyers and working lumber producers, this was not entertainment. It was a genuine test with real conclusions. The results surprised even committed viewers. The vintage circle mill performed in ways that its age should not have allowed. The character of the cut, the way the blade moved through wood that had been standing in Mississippi humidity for decades, produced results that the modern band mill could not fully replicate on certain species and grain patterns. Neither machine won clean. Both had categories where they outperformed the other. What the video actually demonstrated was something more important than which machine cut faster. It demonstrated that the Wallaces understand their equipment deeply enough to test it rigorously. That is not a given in this content space. Many rural creators can operate their tools. Fewer can evaluate them against each other with the kind of structured observation that produces useful conclusions. The sawmill community online has a specific respect for operators who can speak to the differences between machine types rather than simply defending the brand they own. That video placed the Wallaces inside that conversation, which expanded the channel's reach into a technical audience that had not previously been engaged. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. There is a question that appears consistently in the Wallace Farm and Sawmill comments section, across platforms, across years. It takes different forms. Sometimes it is asked directly, sometimes it is implied in the way people respond to certain videos. The question is essentially this: is any of this sustainable? Not the channel, not the sawmill business, the whole thing, the farm, the horses, the custom orders, the content creation, the Patreon, the merchandise, the shop builds. Can one family actually keep all of that moving at once, indefinitely, without burning out or losing the quality that made the audience find them in the first place? The honest answer, based on what the Wallaces have built and how they have built it, is that the structural answer appears to be yes. And the reason is the same principle that makes the sawmill business work in the first place: redundancy. No single revenue stream is load-bearing. If AdSense revenue dips, the Patreon continues. If custom lumber orders slow during a season, the content pipeline continues. If a project goes sideways on camera, that becomes an episode 2, because the channel has never positioned Tive as a highlight reel. It documents the actual work, including the parts that go wrong. The "We hit a big problem sawing these high-dollar cypress logs" title is not manufactured drama. It is the channel's operating philosophy, stated plainly. Problems are content. Failures are content. Repairs are content. The Belgian horses causing chaos while the tractor needs work is content. Nothing that happens on this farm is wasted. That philosophy, applied consistently across years, is the real product Wallace Farm and Sawmill has built. Not a channel, not a sawmill business, a documented life that an audience finds worth returning to. One phone call, one conversation, that's all it took to change the direction of everything. As of mid-2026, Wallace Farm and Sawmill is in the middle of a sustained expansion that shows no signs of slowing. The new shop is operational. The solar kiln, a project that will allow them to dry and sell premium kiln-dried lumber, rather than competing on green wood pricing alone, is in progress. The century-old circle sawmill is being put to work on major builds, not just demonstration videos. And the channel continues uploading at a pace that reflects a team that has found its rhythm, rather than one that is grinding to keep up. A big news announcement came in July 2025. The specifics of that announcement connect to the property upgrades and infrastructure builds that have dominated the content since: the pool excavation, the power connection to the new shop, the expanded operational footprint of the farm. These are not isolated projects. They are pieces of a single long-term vision being built incrementally and documented in real time. Brittany's role in the channel has continued to evolve. The sawmill is no longer positioned as Tyler's domain with Brittany adjacent to it. The content reflects a genuine partnership, both behind the camera and behind the controls of the machines that drive the business. That shift changed how the audience relates to the channel, and the growth in followers and engagement across platforms reflects it. The merchandise store, the Patreon with its 685+ exclusive posts, the professional sponsorship management, the public sawmill inquiry email. All of these operational details point toward a channel that has moved from passion project to functioning media business without losing the authenticity that made people find it in the first place. That is the hardest thing to do in this space. Most channels either stay small and authentic or grow and become something their original audience no longer recognizes. Wallace Farm and Sawmill has, at least so far, done both. The real story of Wallace Farm and Sawmill is not about a sawmill. It is about a family that built redundancy into everything. The work, the income, the content, the community, and ended up with something more durable than any single piece of it. The next chapter for Tyler and Brittany is already being built on camera. The solar kiln, the new shop in full operation, the century-old circle mill, doing work that a machine its age was never supposed to still be doing. The audience that found them will keep watching because the life keeps expanding and the camera keeps running. Here's the question worth thinking about. Do you think a small sawmill operation in rural Mississippi can genuinely compete with commercial lumber suppliers? Or is the real business always going to be the YouTube channel itself? Drop your answer below.